A closer look at Colorado's closest congressional race ahead of the candidate's only live debate here tomorrow night on Next. The Republican street artist who put up racist signs at RTD stops won't be charged for the stunt if he doesn't do it again. The city of Denver cuts funding for an experiment giving people an income, then tracking the results. And we'll meet the Coloradan who's broken the state record for the largest pumpkin twice in 1 month.
And I asked my wife, what should we grow there? And she was like, we should grow a pumpkin. And I was like, what about a giant pumpkin?
Go big or go home. It's time for Next.
Ballots for the November election hit the mail at the end of the week, and the closest congressional race in the state is likely going to be in Adams and Weld counties, the 8th Congressional District. The candidates debate here tomorrow night at 6. Tonight, politics guy Marshall Zellinger shows us why that race is so close.
Independent fact checkers.
You will see 4 political ads for the 8th Congressional District by the end of Next.
Yadira Caraveo.
2 supporting Democratic Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo.
I'm Gabe Evans.
2 supporting Republican challenger Gabe Evans. It is likely to be a toss-up seat that could help determine the balance of power in the U.S. House. Let's start with the voter makeup of Congressional District 8. It covers parts of Adams and Weld counties and a sliver of Larimer County. Congressional District 8 is the state's closest by voter registration. 50% of voters are unaffiliated. A quarter of them are Democrats. 23% are Republicans, and 1% are Libertarian. Here is why that Libertarian population is important. In 2022, Caraveo beat Republican challenger Barb Kirkmeyer by 1,600 votes. The Libertarian candidate that year,
my campaign really was just to meet the disenfranchised people.
metal band sound guy Dan Ward, received 9,200 votes. This year, Libertarian candidates agreed to drop out of races if the Republican would sign a pledge to advocate for their values. Evans signed this watered-down version last month, and the Libertarian candidate in Congressional District 8 dropped out and endorsed Evans. The watered-down version of the pledge is full of issues that Republicans already support anyway, but if Libertarian voters follow the endorsement of their former candidate, it could be enough to sway the election. The anti-Caraveo ads that you will see during Next will focus on fentanyl. As we've mentioned in a previous truth test, in 2019, Caraveo was one of most Democrats to reduce the penalty for small amounts of fentanyl possession to a misdemeanor while she was a state lawmaker. She did not defelonize all fentanyl-related charges, and in 2022, she joined other Democrats in making possession of small amounts of fentanyl a felony again. The anti-Evans ads will try to link him to Congresswoman Lauren Boebert and say he wants to ban abortion. His current stance is that he would not support a national ban on abortion, something that he would possibly have a vote on, Kyle, if he were elected to Congress.
And when we look at this race, Caraveo has a huge cash advantage. There's possibly more national cash coming in for Evans, but it's getting an intense focus that, say, you mentioned Lauren Boebert's race, right? That race is not, because she has such an enormous Republican edge in her district.
Correct. And when you look at the pie chart and the voter registration, that's why you see so many political ads. $3 million, I believe, is what about that much is what Yadira Caraveo herself has in her campaign fund. It's about $500,000 for Gabe Evans. But then you talk about the national money, and that's almost an endless supply of cash, which is why the Evans ads against Caraveo are mainly paid for from the national crews that have more money.
All right, Marshall, thank you. Invite you to join us tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Next presents The Race for Congress, the debate between Democratic Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo and her Republican challenger, Gabe Evans. It is the only live debate in that race. It will air at 6 p.m. in place of Next. You can watch it live on 9 News and streaming on 9 News Plus.
Tonight's next question is from Juanita, who wants to know why one ballot question in Colorado's Blue Book, Proposition KK, excise tax on firearms and ammo, is printed in all caps when the rest are not. Juanita said it felt like the Blue Book's yelling at her.
So, Juanita, that is by design. It's due to Colorado's Taxpayer Bill of Rights, TABOR, the same law that requires state and local governments to let you vote on tax and debt increases also requires that those questions are in all caps on the ballot to get voters' attention. That statewide ballot measure that Juanita mentioned, Prop KK, would add a 6.5% excise tax on guns and ammo and use the revenue to fund services for crime victims. The Republican street activist who bragged about hanging racist signs at bus stops in Denver and Aurora this summer is not going to be charged with a crime. Through a deal in court this morning for another racist sign stunt, he could go to jail if he does it again. Christopher Bally of Aurora, who goes by the name Sabo, will be required to pay nearly $800 in restitution for multiple incidents where he posted racist signs targeting migrants as well as Vice President Kamala Harris. The signs went up at multiple locations this year, but really only got the attention of city leaders when they were posted on existing RTD signage along Colfax in August. Today, Ballot pleaded guilty to posting similar signs near the state capitol in March. If he pays the fines and does 24 hours of community service, the case will be dismissed. But he's been warned that doing it again could bring up to 300 days in jail and another fine. Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas had talked publicly about the idea of bias-motivated crime charges for this. Would have been a stretch given that it's political speech. The city attorney handling this case in municipal court said today that Ballot, quote, took accountability for his actions and discontinued the behavior. All right, so how'd your garden do this year? I gotta say, mine was not a monster producer, not a great year for the Clark garden. I mean, you all have those years though, when like you have more zucchini, it's always the zucchini, than you and your neighbors could ever eat. Our Angeline McCall tells us about a nonprofit that is making sure that our overflowing gardens don't go to waste.
Gardening
Right.
is a type of ritual
I need to prepare the bed first.
that's only fruitful
Just a little bit.
with the right kind of preparation.
We'll have 12 plants in this tiny little spot.
Isabel Mendoza
A long time to get it started.
began when there was still snow on the ground.
They already are flowering.
First, in the greenhouse.
As soon as I can, they get evicted from the greenhouse because there is just not enough spacing.
Even if it's work, there's a reason.
It's definitely a labor of love.
Isabel's produce won't just end up in her kitchen, but to others who need it.
There is something also about making sure that you are in the city for me, where people really need it. That is important.
But before it can make it to them, patience
Plus, I talk pretty to them.
until the next step in the season.
Go.
What a difference
The ones we planted. Ta-da! These guys are hiding from me like,
just a few months
ooh, there is more down here.
can make.
Gardening is very relaxing, and eating food that you know how it grows. I think you get to also appreciate how much work it goes into growing anything.
Work that means something to the people who need it.
Before, I was always donated to people that just sometimes just walk by, or friends and family. There is always something extra. But yeah, this year I like to donate through Fresh Food Connect.
Fresh Food Connect is an organization based in Denver, and we are trying to bring garden and homegrown produce into the hunger relief system.
Gardeners will keep what they need,
I have so many tomatoes.
Yay!
then donate the rest.
Small gardeners all the way up to expert gardeners like Isabel can make a big difference by sharing a little bit of what they have extra.
It's like when someone has way too many zucchinis.
A lot of tomatoes, of course, a million zucchini, yellow squash, all of those summer squash varieties.
So when it's time to distribute and enjoy,
It's really nice to get the vegetables. It's really nice. And then the fresher, the better.
it makes it into the right hands.
They put so much work into growing these beautiful vegetables, and then knowing that it's going, out today and going to be on someone's table tonight, it means a lot.
There we go.
Each growing season is a cycle
Growing food has a lot to do with sharing with people.
with rotation to make sure no one is left out.
I don't think this would be as much fun if I was just growing it for myself.
Gardeners interested in donating can download the Fresh Food Connect app and schedule a produce donation. Fresh Food Connect partners with 13 local organizations who then distribute that food in their individual communities. Your generous support of your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign is going to help a ton of low-income Coloradans get life-saving colonoscopies. Between your weekly donations and the thousands of you who are now giving monthly to the Word of Thanks Fund to be split up amongst every campaign, you raise more than $30,000 for Butt Savers, the Salud Family Health Program that helps to subsidize the cost of colonoscopies for people who can't afford them. Over the last 5 years, you have raised $13.4 million for nonprofits in every corner of Colorado. Let me know about a nonprofit that's making an impact in your community. You can email next@9news.com or text NEXT 303-871-1491. The city of Denver says it's done with its experiment with no strings attached income for people living on the streets. But advocates aren't giving up.
I think potentially 3 state records could fall this weekend in Fort Collins. I think the Utah state record, Wyoming state record, and the Colorado state record could all fall.
Smashing pumpkin records. A Coloradan looks to do it 2 weeks in a row. That's next. For nearly 2 years, Denver's been experimenting with universal basic income. No strings attached cash to people without a home, and they track the results. Now, Mayor Mike Johnson says the city needs a slimmed down budget and can no longer afford to fund that experiment. Since 2022, the Denver Basic Income Project has sent monthly payments to hundreds of people living on the streets. They are divided into three groups. Some got $1,000 a month, some got $6,500 in a lump sum and smaller monthly payments, and then a control group got $50 per month. More than 40% of the program's participants reported getting some form of housing within the first 10 months, no matter which group they were in, how much money they were getting. Mayor's office says the fact that there was not a significant difference between the $50 a month group and those getting a lot more money, they said that was key in their decision not to fund that program going forward. The people running the Basic Income Project say that they believe that they've proved that an income floor, no matter how small, could be a beneficial part of the city's plan to end chronic homelessness.
We think that the focusing on one data point does not paint a full picture of the study. We're really excited to see that people receiving even the $50 are having great outcomes. And it tells us that when you start from a place of trust and saying to people, we trust you and we believe in you, that that is foundational to creating a platform for accelerated change.
That project is funded through a mix of public money and private donations. They'd asked for $15 million in city funds to continue and expand the program. Advocates now have to hope that City Council decides to find funding over the mayor's objection. Denver City Council has just reversed course on a plan to buy a halfway house. Tonight, they unanimously rejected the proposal to buy the property for more than $26 million. The city's Department of Finance initially proposed buying this place on West 44th near I-25. It's already serving people with criminal records and folks who have drug addiction, but the city planned to buy that facility as part of a plan to transition community corrections facilities away from national for-profit owners. Denver has closed down a bunch of those places in recent years, but only has about half of the 550 beds they're aiming for. The proposal unanimously got through a committee on council last month, but then City Council decided to kill it tonight because the Department of Finance backtracked on that purchase. Meteorologist Kathy Sabin, we are in for another relatively warm week for this time of year.
It's very unusual, and it will be extended out until the weekend when I think we might see a pattern shift. But you may notice smoke and haze descending upon our beautiful city. This is the time of year we're used to seeing those pristine blue skies. Wildfire smoke coming in from the north and west has created the poor air quality. Temperature 82 our high. We're down to 74 this hour. Average high for the date is 69. This is the poor air, the vivid coloring, and we're seeing the modeling showing that air come right into Denver late tonight and tomorrow, begins to shift east into Nebraska and Kansas, but poor air as a result of those wildfires. And so we're starting to see the potential for air quality alerts being posted. The coast of Florida has been looking at some heavy rainfall off and on for several days, and this is ahead of the dangerous Hurricane Milton, which is spinning in the Gulf. That air quality alert has just come out now for Denver, Fort Collins, and Greeley. So again, those in the sensitive groups need to be mindful of that. Elevated fire danger along with the poor air quality will be some of our weather headlines, along with the potential to see some beneficial moisture by the weekend. We're not seeing that now with that high pressure dome, but Florida's bracing for what could be a catastrophic storm surge on Wednesday when Milton makes landfall. It went from a tropical storm to a Cat 5 hurricane in less than 24 hours. And as of 5, it will have a storm surge of 12 to 15 feet in and around the Tampa area. So there are a lot of warnings and advisories out as the models try to come into agreement with the exact timing and impact of what could be a historic storm. We can't seem to buy a raindrop around here. We'll see a few high clouds coming in. Temperatures trend this evening very comfortable, and we look at temperatures above average for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, with maybe a cool down and a little precip coming in next Sunday, and a week from today, next Monday.
And last weekend, we were able to grow the first 1-ton pumpkin in Colorado at 2,083 pounds.
All hail the pumpkin! He just broke Colorado's record and says he has another pumpkin that he wants everyone to see. The show's in the weeds again. Somebody tell Charlie Brown and the gang the great pumpkin has arrived, and it turns out there's more than one.
Usually we're there on their worst day of their life, and we're there to make a difference. And when you see that you've made a difference, that's my favorite thing about the job. Hi, I'm Brad Bledsoe. I'm a fire medic here with Aurora Fire Rescue, and we're here at Station 13. I've been working here with Aurora Fire for about 9 years.
Loading it up the night before.
My hobby outside of work that keeps me busy is growing giant pumpkins. We actually moved last year and built a 3,200 square foot high tunnel, like a greenhouse, but the sides raised during the day to try to eliminate some of that heat. But really the only reason we built that was to grow giant pumpkins. We've grown 3 pumpkins this year. One's yet to be weighed. The first one was a state record at 1,955 pounds. The record got broke the next weekend by another great grower, Chad New. And then last weekend we were able to grow the first 1-ton pumpkin in Colorado at 2,083 pounds.
Woo! Close, 2,083 pounds! 2,083 pounds!
And the secret is just maintaining like a constant, like a really good watering schedule, and then staying on like top of plant health.
Good job, Brad.
We had the biggest pumpkin at Nick's site record, state record. Yeah, there were some great big pumpkins there, but we came out on top, which is awesome. Second contest we've won this year, so we're feeling super blessed. One more to go this weekend in Fort Collins is the way off. I think potentially 3 state records could fall this weekend in Fort Collins. I think the Utah state record, Wyoming state record, and the Colorado state record could all fall. So the pumpkin I'm bringing is measures a little bit bigger than the one that just broke the record. I'm optimistic, 50-50. 50-50 on my odds, more optimistic for the other growers, but hopefully we can just be 1 pound heavier than them. The chaos of work is not the chaos of my hobby, and you can just kind of forget about stress and be out there and get your hands dirty and have the family join you, and it's the hobby's just a ton of fun.
I love the picture of the kids on top of it. We are back with your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today, make you look twice cruising down the highway. Heather sent us video of a skeleton on the back of a motorcycle in Broomfield. That's some excellent photojournalist work, Heather. You'll see like the skull and crossbones on bikers' jackets every now and then, but that's next level, and it's spooky season. If you see something that makes you do a double take around our state, email us next@9news.com or text us 303-871-1491. Somebody texted us just a minute ago talking about giant pumpkin. Another comment about the giant pumpkins, Chuck in Glenwood Springs says, wonder how long it takes to carve that thing. I've always been curious what happens to those. Wouldn't that make an interesting carved pumpkin? When I looked at the shape, first thought I had was Jabba the Hutt. It would make a great Jabba the Hutt carving. And something nice from Vicki. We try not to read good feedback, but once in a while. She says, your show is refreshing and needed in the weird media world we have today. Have newscasts that always strives to present information in an unbiased and factual way. Vicki, that is very kind. Thank you for being a part of Next. See you next time.